Good evening. Welcome to our monthly work session. At this time, we will go into our information items. 2.01, Blue Ribbon Facilities Update, Mr. Roger Smith.
Went ahead and tore up, so we're working around that with summer school. Fall Creek Valley, again, same way with them, trying to finish up the commons area and the cafe area. The back dock, we tore it out, putting a new one in. And parking lot is almost done with asphalt. New LECC site work continues on. We're pushing hard, trying to get asphalt down there for the big move coming up here. So working with Core to see how that works out. A lot of furniture in place in the 2-story, and a lot of it will be finished up by the end of the week. Again, more new interior finishes. Craig Phase 2 here. We've been living in the dream, as most schools have, but we'll soon be out of here and turn the rest of the building over to Powers and Sons. Again, just more work on the upstairs. Again, roof work, HVAC continues with Indian Creek, Harrison Hill, Skiles, and Crestview. You can see, driving by some of our sites, we're now moving forward with the classroom additions. So that is being fenced off and guarded for that construction to start this month.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. There's a lot going on. Board, any questions regarding the Blue Ribbon updates?
I do have
Yes,
one
Ms. Lawrence.
question. So, Mr. Smith, this came from a member of the public, one Sage Lawrence, and if you can't ask a question of your mother, to ask on the dais as a point of privilege for having a mom on the school board. I don't know who can, but I'm also going to take this up for you too, Marissa. So the question that I have, Mr. Smith, pertains to the soccer field at Fall Creek Valley, because both Marissa and Sage play on that field, and Sage was asking 2 questions. The first is, when will it be painted? Because they are having practice there this evening. And 2, why did we decide to put a fence instead of netting around? Because she's really worried that she's going to go have to fish a bunch of balls out of a woods.
Probably so. No, it's just a safety feature that we try to do of all of our sport fields, and that'll help secure our kids mainly while they're out there. So. And we got a little bit of site work around the perimeter of the soccer field, and I believe striping soon with that. We have a sports company that does our grass fields, and they'll pick this field up and do the same.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, board, regarding the Blue Ribbon updates? Okay, I did want to thank you for the tour. We recently had the opportunity to tour the new LECC, and it's very exciting. A lot of boxes, furniture. The new boardroom that's open to the community is very fantastic. So thank you for that tour. Okay, if there are any other questions, we'll move on to 2.02, end of the year update on the 24 and 25 board goals. Mr. Dan Kuznick and Dr. Emily Haas-Brown.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, members of the board. Tonight we're bringing you the end-of-year report for the 2024-25 board goals. I will note that even though the school year has ended, some data cannot quite be shared publicly yet because of embargoed, and you'll see that noted as we go through the presentation. Up first, our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Troy Noder.
Thank you, Mr. Kuznick, and thank you, Madam President, Dr. Smith, and members of the board. For our Student Achievement Board Goal update, as you know, we have very ambitious student achievement goals, and I will be able to share some specific data. Other data I'll just speak to in generalities until it's lifted from the state. The first one is our graduation rate, and our final graduation rate will be available after October 1st, but we are confident that we will reach this goal. both for the overall graduation rate as well as the honors diploma increases. For our second one, this is an internal goal for our rigor diagnostic, measuring our instruction. And the board goal is a 9.0 for 24-25. I'm pleased to report that we had 8 schools that achieved a 9.0 or higher, with 17 of 19 showing improved scores, which gave us a district average of 8.5, so almost at that 9.0. In terms of attendance, we have shown great growth this year, a little under the board goal in terms of our weekly attendance of 94%. The model attendee rate, we've shown great improvement. This is a 7% increase to 61.45. And as a reminder, this is the percentage of students that have attended 94%. We're still in the process of teasing out the enrollment for students who've been with us 162 days. So this isn't quite final yet, but we are seeing great improvement over last year. On the next slide, this is another internal goal. This is our iReady benchmark math and reading assessments that we give. 15% growth is the board goal. Every school met that board goal in both ELA and math, with an average increase for English language arts at plus 28%, and for math proficiency plus 32%. The next one is our iRead 3, and we are still in our final phase of testing for students during the month of June, and final results typically are released by the state in August. But let me just speak generally to this goal. We have given tremendous emphasis as a school district to making sure that we have third grade readers, and we have much to honor, much to celebrate. There is no doubt that we will exceed this goal. And again, in generalities, we should certainly have much to celebrate in August when we're able to get into this data specifically. And iLearn goal, very similar, embargoed. Typically, that data is released in July, and there are also definite highlights to celebrate with this data as well.
Good evening. In regards to our strategic plan goal, we are finishing up year 2 of the 3-year strategic plan. As the goal states, we do give an update to the board twice yearly. As you might recall, we did an update just in May, just last month, and we continue to update the dashboard quarterly for the public viewing.
Human resource people goal. As you look at our 3 areas, our first one was to retain 90% of district effective and highly effective certified teachers. That one is still in process, just as we are calculating those. That's what our principals are doing the month of June, even for their administrative staff as well. Implement an anonymous employee survey for all staff to better understand drivers of job satisfaction and increase participation percentage each year. And so in 2024, we had 37.7% participate. In 2025, it was 33% that participated. And so we did not have as much participation, but I think that could be for a variety of reasons. We are certainly advertising it, but when you look at a survey, those that have information to share, do share that. And as we think about 25 and 26, we're looking at how to focus on the results that you get back. What do the schools do with them? So that's more the importance and the focus will be on the action plan and the strategies of what we do get back. Our third goal is offer an exit interview to every employee that leaves through resignation or retirement. And in 2025, we had 21 exit surveys and 5 employees that requested interviews. And so that's what we were able to do this year.
In the operations and finance side, we have 2 board goals to focus on this year, both of which are actually measured at the end of the calendar year, so December 31, and both of which turned out favorably. We were able to meet both goals. The first is our cash balance goal of $16 million at year end, which was our actual balance. The goal is $14 million, so we exceeded that by $2 million. And then all of our local property taxing funds, we want to make sure those have a positive balance at the end of the year, which was also met.
Under safety and security, all buildings were certified this year and completed all their monthly and semester drills. Our annual site and building security assessment was completed, and we will start the 25-26 assessment July 1, and successfully launched the Help Me app for safety resources and anonymous reporting.
All right, thank you for those updates. It's been a busy year, and we appreciate that. Board, do you have any questions regarding the updated board goal updates? Yes, Ms. Dunn.
First of all, kudos for the financial just landscape in this district is to be applauded, especially during this current time. So kudos to you. Thank you for helping us maintain such fiscal health. I have a question, Mr. Noderer, regarding attendance. I'm wondering, actually, I saw a Lawrence Township administrator post recently about how a student was supporting their mom who had a new baby, and this young gentleman is a student of ours and was leaving school to go help mom get to work. Actually, it was not work. I'm sorry. It was her school because she was working on her high school diploma so she could obtain her high school diploma. And so I know that just in hearing this or reading this, we've got students, especially at the secondary level, that are pulled in a number of different directions. So I'm wondering if we've seen any trends in the attendance of students at secondary versus elementary, because I know you've said bookends before. So just kind of wondering if we're still seeing that same trend regarding attendance.
In terms of the data, we're certainly seeing the bookends with kindergarten being lower and then our high school numbers being lower as well.
So I want to just say on the same post, the administrator talked about how they had worked the schedule once they'd talked to the student and seen the trends. So I want to applaud Lawrence Township because it is evident that our school leaders are very much in touch with our students and the needs that they have to make those things happen. So just where it may not be where it needs to be, this is an absolutely fantastic attendance rate, all things considered. So kudos to the district.
We have an incredible team. Student Services, Sean Bush stood up there, is a key player behind the scenes working with our schools. Dr. Gagline on the data side. Those are Ms. Dunn, Troy Noderer's backup. That's who helps him out with that data.
It is very evident, and so I want to sing the praises of the district because those are things that a lot of times we don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and switching a schedule to accommodate. So, and the beautiful story about this is that the student graduated, and so did his mother, which is really, really awesome. So thank you, Lawrence Township.
Can I ask really quick, to piggyback off the bookends, you said so that the attendance rates are lower in kindergarten and lower in high school?
High schools.
Okay.
I do have a follow-up question to that. So good job, everybody. Everybody has questions on the attendance stuff. Regarding the attendance rate, if I recall, and now it's been a while since we did approve the goals, but I remember the goal having to do with pre-pandemic levels. I know we're looking at an average here across all of the schools. So are we looking at schools on an individual basis for those schools that are not necessarily meeting the pre-pandemic levels? And those outliers we're figuring out, I'm leading the witness. You can talk for yourself, Mr. Noderer.
Absolutely. That's a process that our assistant superintendents and Mrs. LaPlante go through every week in terms of sharing data with the buildings. And then we've wrapped into our school improvement plans an emphasis on attendance data so that we can get granular with each school.
It's been really fun to see the schools celebrating attendance too, and the kids getting really into it. It's been really fun to watch that. I do have a couple of other follow-up questions, but I want to make sure no one else has a question about attendance first.
I do. The question is, are we noticing any patterns in the chronic absenteeism, like certain schools or certain groups that are impacted more than others, just with the climate currently, and then some of the things that have gone through on the federal and state level?
Ms. Bush just sat down.
You know, I think that, like Mr. Noderer said, we certainly see the bookends, our early learning centers, and our secondary schools have higher instances of chronic absenteeism. And, you know, for our littles, it is, you know, if your baby says they don't feel good, you want to keep them home. You know, you want to keep them close to the house. And then for our older students, we have students that work. We have students that are taking care of younger siblings. You know, all of the stories. There's for the number of students we have that number of reasons why we have such a high rate of chronic absenteeism. So I think it runs the gamut. It really does.
Have we noticed a trend, have we noticed a trend in our immigrant population, our English learners, just with some of the things that's currently?
We did for a moment, but they're showing up.
Okay.
They're here.
Yep, they're here.
Yeah,
No,
I'm trying
they're
to be
here.
careful.
There's not any difference in when we disaggregate that data. Our immigrant population is showing up.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Ms. Puckett?
Yes.
May I piggyback off something real quickly because I think it's important, Ms. Bush, and correct me if I'm wrong, but preschool and kindergarten are not mandatory in the state of Indiana.
Correct.
However, those demographics are included in our attendance rate. And I think that's,
Kindergarten is.
yes. Kindergarten is not preschool, right. But I think that's a really important measure, like just for folks to understand that whereas kindergarten is not mandatory, they still are included in our data as it pertains to chronic absenteeism and things of that nature.
So when we're looking at the absentee rate up here, the attendance rate up here, is that with the preschool added in? Is that potentially skewing? That's just kindergarten through. Okay, thank you.
Good questions. Board, are there any other questions regarding attendance? I appreciate the goal being set high. I know it's something we as adults need to continue to strive for, even in our professions. So, okay. Other board goal questions?
Yeah, I do. I had a question
Yes, Marty.
related to the increase, which great work all around on the increase of 28% and 32% in English and math, respectively. Is there anything that we can attribute that to, Mr. Noterer? Are there programs that we've implemented or things that we've put in place to really increase those goals?
So first of all is our instructional framework. So our rigorous instructional framework as represented in our rigor diagnostic goal, and the improvement we saw there is a precursor to student achievement improvement. Secondly, we've had a tremendous focus this year on data systems and monitoring students' learning in the moment and immediately intervening for students. And so that's been a focus district-wide in support from the curriculum division for each school to develop that system for data monitoring, and that's made a tremendous difference as well.
That's great. I know that we've also increased support in some schools
We have.
for tutoring and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Are we thinking we might expand some of those programs just to continue to boost those numbers?
We haven't disaggregated the data yet for our tutoring program, so we'll definitely take a look at that based on the data of students who were tutored and what type of growth they saw compared to the average.
Great, thank you.
I just have to say one more thing. I'm just all about kudos for Lawrence this evening, but I think one of the things that I also just want to give just such gratitude to you, Ms. Johnson, as well as to you, Mr. Noterer, because when you go to the end of to the retirement celebration and you see that we are actively recruiting the best and the brightest, folks that have had, you know, we look up there, it's 20, 30 years of experience in the district, and they're coming back in their tutoring. I've got to think that that plays such a critical role in the tutoring and the results that we're seeing. And so just a really strategic move by the district that I think just needs to be applauded, that the folks just continue to give back to our students and do so in a way that improves student outcomes.
The board can see student achievement data, Mr. Noterer. We can say that on the record. They already know what we've got on iLearn and iRead.
Yes.
We just can't share it with the public
Correct.
because the Department of Education hasn't released it. So they're very aware of the increases that we've had across the board. I'm going to use the word Mr. Noterer uses every day at Cabinet. We've been very intentional, haven't we, Mr.
Yes,
Noter?
we have.
And we have to give kudos to all of our leaders and teachers. And this team over here, we've been very intentional, everyone, in pushing in to help our kids achieve at a higher level. The state says we have to have kids who are literate. We're taking it very seriously in Lawrence Township. We don't care about the excuses. Our kids are going to read. They're going to achieve. If given time and the resources that we have, we're going to make sure that they meet the goals. So that's what these goals are back here. It's bold, but it's real. And the kids that are in Lawrence Township, we saw that last Wednesday and Thursday. They graduate also, board. You have factored that because you shook all their hands. And there was a lot of students. Mr. Kuznick, over 1,200 students. Got one of our high school principals in the back. They're working hard. That takes intentionality. So that's my 2 cents on board goals. I'll keep my mouth closed. Thank you.
I do have a couple of additional questions.
Can I?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
rigor.
was going to ask if anybody had other
Yes.
academic related stuff.
Yes, let me first apologize. I got my questions to you late in the day, so I apologize for that. So one of them, I really don't feel the need to ask because Ms. Lawrence, her question, I drew my answers from that. And so just wanted to publicly say that. I apologize on getting those questions to you late, so. But I have my answer, thank you, I have my answer from you from her question.
I am nothing if not probing. I do have additional questions related to the surveys, the exit surveys. Ms. Johnson, one question that I had related to not the exit survey, I'm sorry, the anonymized survey. I have heard feedback from several teachers that they were concerned that it wasn't truly an anonymous survey because they were sent specific links that were specific to each individual and therefore felt as though some of their answers might be tracked back to the individual. Can you help me understand why that perception exists within our teacher community?
Sean was just a part of working with Panorama. We have no way of tracking the individuals. It is anonymous. It goes out to the schools and then to those individual email addresses, but we're not able to know who participated, who didn't participate. It's truly anonymous, but that is a feeling, and so we have to think through how do we continue to educate and get that message out so that people will want to participate without the thought of, oh my gosh, they know it's me.
And I also think, too, just giving people the assurance that no retaliatory steps would be taken at all for them voicing their opinion. I think, obviously, that would never be the intention of any of our administrators. But if someone were reluctant to fill out the survey specifically for fear of retaliation, what are some of the things that we can empower our administrators with to ensure that they're carrying that message to the individuals in their building?
It's against our board policy.
It's against our board policy.
I don't have the
obviously.
number in my head, but I know that I did read it.
It is. Ms. Bush, talk about Panorama. We went with an outside company, Madam Board Member, to assure that that wouldn't happen. So go ahead, Ms. Bush.
So we have assured staff the first time we administered the survey, which was last year as well as this year, that it was an anonymous survey as they requested, and they are getting the link directly from Panorama. We don't even touch it. We're not forwarding it. They get their own link from Panorama, and we don't know who said what. So all we can do is tell them that and, assure them that, these fears are, there's no need for them.
Yes.
And Panorama is a survey that is used across the state of Indiana and across the country.
is.
And can,
Yes.
I can assure that, when we see the Panorama data from our end as end users, there is absolutely zero tied, because it's not just parents, it's also, or teachers, staff members, it's students, it's any staff. And so it is very holistic, and there is absolutely no name whatsoever tied to any of it.
None.
And we've seen all the questions. They're very pertinent. I thought it was a really well-constructed survey. So thank you for doing it. And I think the message is just to continue to carry it forward, because I do think it is potentially impactful and hopefully provides the buildings the sort of data or an understanding of culture and things that are maybe happening in the building that people may or may not be reluctant to come forward and talk about.
Yeah. And we did try really hard to, the questions are, they're exactly the questions that the committee came up with. Like Panorama developed that survey for us. Now they have questions that they will give to districts, but we decided not to go that route. Our committee that was made up of probably 50, 60 people came up with the exact questions that landed on the survey. So it was all generated by our staff.
And so that percentage we have staff is for all staff, and that would equate to about 800 staff members, is that correct, of our 25?
Like 845.
845 out of 2,500 staff members. As a researcher, I could work with that. I could make a lot of determinations with that level of data coming in, and it's very robust. We would like to have more. We're going to continue to survey and gather more information. The more, the better. It can help us in our decision-making to make Lawrence Township an attractive place to work.
And it does include certified and classified staff.
Yes,
That was
all
very
staff.
important.
Yep.
Remind me, Ms. Bush, in the survey, do classified and certified staff receive different questions? I can't remember. Okay.
It's the same survey.
Okay, same survey across, yeah.
I have a question. Are we seeing any common themes and why people are leaving? And based off of the exit interviews, and how are we using that info to support the staff that we currently have?
Turn that over to Ms. Johnson.
Alrighty. So I'll start with the exit interview. I would say that this year that 21 people participated, and we did have some that requested an interview, and I feel like I'm able to go a lot deeper in an actual interview where it's more interactive. Some people request that interview, and then it's hard to find them. They've resigned, they've gone, and so we've tried to make sure that window is very timely, like even within a board report window when we see the resignations, making sure that they've gone out. But we take a look at that data, and we do look at what are the topics, and then how can we take that data, especially from the interviews, and then share them back in a way that goes to that division leader, so that here are some thoughts that were shared. Might we consider this? It's just, and then we decide who might need to know, so that there is no sort of any, gleam of a retaliation for a person participating. But what can we learn from that individual experiences, whether it's perceived or it's their reality? What can we learn from that?
That's good, thank you.
Okay, good questions. Any other questions regarding any of the board goals?
I do have one other question.
Yes.
Sorry,
No,
I'm
that's
full of
fine.
them tonight.
This is our work session.
The Help Me app, how is it advertised? That's probably a question for you, Mr. Smith, maybe?
In support of Stephanie the Plant, Dr. Altmeyer, how do we get that out? Just real quick, share. Go ahead, Stephanie. You and Dana know the answer.
Absolutely. This was a part of our CIESC STOP grant. And so in collaboration with Dr. Altmeyer, we have information on the website, but then all of the schools were given posters that they could put throughout the building with the QR codes, and so that way they can submit anonymously through that as well.
And is it just students, or could parents also submit, community members potentially?
Parents, we've had community members submit. Yeah, we've had all types of submissions, and so it's wonderful to see that it's a way that families really feel that they can connect.
And roughly how many people have availed themselves of the Help Me app so far since it's been implemented?
I'd have to dig in to get you an exact number. Our numbers relatively with the other districts that are participating are very low, which we attribute to the fact that we believe that most of our staff and students feel safe going to administration. Most of the requests have been requests for needing help, either with finances for rent or with clothing or food. Really not as much about building issues at all.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Board, any other questions?
Well, just to piggyback, that question was going to be, I had that in the strategic plan portion of the culture, the Help Me app. And so I'll ask this question then. We are able to track data from the Help Me app to see
Yes.
if it's actually, okay,
Yes.
that was one of my questions.
Yes.
Board, if there are great questions, if there are no other questions, I mean, I don't know how I can adequately say thank you. This is a lot of heavy lifting done this year, and the data shows that. And kudos to the staff all around for moving that needle, and it's been moving far. So thank you. At this point, we'll move on to 2.03 now, our strategic planned end of the year update. Mr. Kuznick and Dr. Haas Brown.
President Norman, Dr. Smith, members of the board, we're very pleased to bring to you tonight an update from the end of year 2, our strategic plan. Just a quick reminder of our development process as we went through the process of collecting input from community members, from students, and from staff members to creating the strategic plan and now tracking our work. I'd like to remind you before we ask division heads to give updates that these are simply highlights from the last semester that we wanted to bring to your attention. And we'll go, there we go. We'll ask Mr. Noterer to begin with academic achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Haas Brown. And I do want to point out the 2 metrics that I'm sharing an update on this evening. Although they were developed in 2023, they are becoming increasingly important with the future of school accountability in the state of Indiana. So these are metrics that we are paying very close attention to. The first one is about advanced coursework and earning high school credits prior to 9th grade. So middle schools, how many advanced courses are we offering to how many students? Our baseline was 49%. I'm pleased to report that for this past school year, we had 70% of our middle school students enrolled in high school credit courses. And you can see the variety of different courses that we offer. Preparing for college and careers is for all 8th grade students. And so that makes a tremendous difference in terms of students being able not only to interact with the content that's really important for 8th graders, but earn that high school credit. And you can see the other courses that we offer, including 4 different CTE courses as well. The next metric is increasing the number of students participating in work-based learning experiences aligned with high-wage, high-demand pathways. So this year we did increase our enrollment by 285 students. We also had a work-based learning committee that met from January of 2024 through March of 2025. So it was over a year-long committee process that looked at our current data, virtually visited other schools across the country to learn what was happening at a national level, of course attended conferences to stay informed, and then developed the recommendations for action. And those recommendations for 25-26 implementation include a direct one-pager for our community partners. What work-based learning is, it can really be confusing for community partners who want to host students with us, but that one-page communication really will streamline those efforts. We're committed to strengthening our existing community partnerships and expanding new ones. And Community Health Network is a perfect example where we have a partnership, but there is so much room for expansion with community health. We're also expanding our work-based learning opportunities within our own district. And our work at the ELCs with our high school students, our apprenticeship for early childhood, is a perfect example. And we can grow that to other divisions across the district. And then really important for school accountability is a tracking platform. And so as more and more students are taking advantage of work-based learning, particularly with the new diploma requirements, we've got to have a tracking platform. And so we will be piloting a tracking platform for 25-26.
And in the area of culture, we want to increase access to programs that are demonstrated to improve student health and well-being. And the areas that I'm highlighting this evening are areas that are around mental health. So we have active Bring Change to Mind clubs at all of our secondary schools, so both middle schools and both high schools have these clubs that provide a safe space for students to bring awareness to issues of mental health. Our clubs, especially our club at LN, has been recognized around the state for the wonderful things that they've done to bring awareness to mental health. We also now, as of this spring, have 66 educators now certified in the Applied Educational Neuroscience. They have that certification through Butler University. with Dr. Lori Desatel. Dr. Lori has also co-taught again for the third consecutive year with working alongside students to help teachers help students learn more about their nervous systems. We also have an app. This is also through the CIESC safety grant, an app that's called Starling Minds. It's a mental fitness support app that's available to any township employee. We don't have the numbers that we would like to have with that, but we have that for another full year. And I can say from exploring it myself that it's a good resource. It's a self-paced, guided app that it's check it out. It's worth your time. We also have a partnership with Community Fairbanks to offer substance use education and intervention with our prevention liaison. She makes those connections with students and families. And our district crisis support team this year has been trained in a crisis response model that's called Prepare. That happened for our crisis team in October. And then actually this week, coming up on Thursday, we'll have a group of administrators and a few SROs that will be joining us for a one-day training in the Prepare model. And there you have another reference to the Help Me app, which is through the safety grant.
Staffing and people in the strategic plan. A highlight that I wanted to share with you this evening is looking at our efforts in reducing the number of emergency permits. There are some teachers that to be able to get on, they have to at least have an emergency permit. And so we started really looking at this when we implemented the strategic plan. Summer of 24, we had 108 teachers with expired emergency permits. And we worked all year to get it down to just one teacher that has an expired emergency permit. And then the whole cycle starts over again. You know, as principals continue to hire people and they're bringing them in. We have 161 staff members that have emergency permits, and they have to be renewed beginning July 1. So we're not able to renew them until the window opens. They expire on June 30th. And so that's 17.6% of our teachers. And so we have principals, they've made contact with these teachers. They're referring them to different pathways, working with HR, example of our DBAC program. And we're just really trying to help the staff that we have find that pathway to being a full licensure teacher so that we have the very best standing in front of our students. So we just really work to really whittle that number down.
Under facilities, we want to continue to increase the effective use of our space to support the increased academic, extracurricular alignment and opportunities. And so that put us into a building capacity study, looking at all of our buildings, and found out that Crestview, Mary Castle, Forest Glen were near or over capacity. And then looking at, McKinsey as well is under capacity. Last March, I believe, the board passed Blue Ribbon Phase 2, and in that report, there were 5 priorities, and number 2 addressed the overcapacity issues of Crestview, Mary Castle, and Forest Glen with additional classrooms. These projects, as you have seen, have started and will go throughout the next year. And McKinsey's currently under a feasibility study for their future needs.
For technology, we have several projects in the works this spring. We have new devices coming in for the students, excuse me, as part of our regular upgrade for 6th and 9th graders. We have phase 1 of a 4-step process to replace devices for our staff. We're making upgrades to the financial software so that we can have an employee self-service portal, which will make us more efficient in that regard. We have new phones for everybody at their desk throughout the district, and we're moving the software, the system to the cloud, which will help us meet the federal regulations around E911. We won the $650,000 federal cybersecurity grant, The RFP is in progress. Mr. Harsha will bring you the results in July. And we also, to answer your questions about teasing out the demographics and that about around attendance, we actually have the good fortune of having 2 data dashboard products that we will be piloting so we can tease out those answers in some of the other areas as well.
In rounding out the lineup, the finance department goals from our strategic priorities, making sure we had our finances in order to align with the strategic priorities of the district. Got a handful of bullets in front of you. Just touch on a few of those. The first one, much of that happens last fall, but our classified pay raises, as you know, go into effect in January. So that happened this current semester, this previous semester. Also working closely, as Roger talked about, Mr. Smith talked about, our elementary expansion, our guaranteed energy savings, those major construction projects. Of course, our middle school projects have already been underway, but those have continued on, and as well as work here at Craig and our new LECC. We're continuing to closely digest and look at the impacts of our legislative changes that will impact our world very closely. So that will continue to be an area of focus moving forward. And then again, we've worked closely with the other departments here in the district to make sure that we're aligning our financial priorities in line with the other priorities to meet student needs wherever that need may present itself.
Thank you for all of those updates. Board, I'm sure we have some questions. Yes, anybody?
I have more of a comment, actually.
Okay, Ms. Puckett.
It's concerning the culture. I appreciate our township. I have a kiddo that shared with me a while back that at her school, in her class, that her peers and her were trained for conflict resolution and restorative practices. And, you know, that's my jam. And so just to hear her come back and say that the students were able to handle certain conflicts amongst each other, I thought that was powerful. And so I just wanted to share that and just say thank you. As we were going through the culture, that I know that each school has their own tools and different things, but that's something that for our household that my daughter was excited about. And thank you for that. Thank you.
Following up with that, I did have a question about the Bring Change to Mind. Wonderful to hear that middle and high school students will have that time together. And I was curious about when that is held and who facilitates that.
So each school has a sponsor. They're all teachers, and one group meets every other Friday afternoon. One group meets one Wednesday a month. So it just depends. It's different at every school. I can share with you later if you want details.
Great, thank you.
To go along with that, I wanted to commend you on slide 6 on that piece, because everything we do that you do is tied to improve student outcomes. And if you can't address mental health barriers, then you can't achieve to your full potential. And that also includes the staff too. So I appreciate that there is the app for the staff as well too. Thank you.
I do have a follow-up question related to the Bring Change to Mind. First, how wonderful is it that we are destigmatizing the need for mental health, not just within our district, but around the country? It's something that I've seen in my own life experience kind of morph and change throughout the years. So it's really wonderful to see us fully embracing that. I did have a question as it relates to the behavioral stuff that happens within our school district. Does this Bring Change to Mind program also address potential behavioral issues, or are there other programs in place related to student behavior within the classroom?
No, Bring Change to Mind is a student club.
Got it. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. Thank you. Thank you for the
Club.
clarification.
It's a student club. It's a student-led club.
Yep.
They have a sponsor that helps to facilitate their activities and things, but it is a student-led club. And in terms of any behavior issues we see with students, we have lots of support staff in the buildings. Our teachers, our counselors, our administrators are wonderful at identifying students that have those needs that might need a little extra, and whether that's a referral to school-based mental health with Gallahue or an outside provider or a family liaison, whatever that may be, we have a lot of different resources depending on the need.
So as it relates to classroom culture and opportunities, I know that we are currently working on the climate survey, or the, not survey, but climate assessment with the teachers union. Are some of these issues being addressed in that as well? Behavioral and potential overcrowding in classrooms? That's probably, yeah, probably more.
You're in a completely different lane. That's Carla Johnson and Ms. Bush also. Go ahead, Carla. That's a working condition.
The working conditions. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just, as we were
No.
talking through, it was just a question that
Right.
came to mind is that, are we addressing behavioral and mental health issues as we're thinking about the climate conversation that we're having with
Right.
the union?
And I just want to be careful, Carla. I missed something. I didn't see that as one of their concerns to student discipline or behavior. The Working Conditions Committee, go ahead, Carla, address 3 pillars.
We had 3 pillars in the working district committee, and that was a result after negotiations last fall. So we're focusing on class size, prep periods, and our PLCs and professional development. More about the teacher's time management and how we use time.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, we are still working through that. So
I have a follow-up question to Mrs. Lawrence's question. As a community member, what can we do to help support? Because so often behaviors come into schools from outside. There's trauma. There's so much. What if, I am a parent. Just what supports could people come alongside and help with that could help with that? Like the process on being the process for being able to help in the classroom. Do we need more classroom? Like, what can be done that people can help with this as well?
You say it all the time, Ms. Puckett, it takes a village. It takes a village. So I think what everybody can do is be a part of that village, not just to the kids in your own house, but to any other youth that you come into contact with, because we do have a lot that goes on in our community, and it absolutely spills over, into the lives of our students and therefore into our schools. But we have a lot of supports that are available. And so we're going to keep wrapping our arms around our kids and loving them and providing them with what they need, whatever that may be.
I'm all for the village. I firmly believe that. So if I'm just an outside, I'm a grandparent, I'm, just whatever, I could come in, get a background check, and hey, can I help in the classroom? Hey, where do you need help? Is that something that somebody could come in to? Okay.
We can always use people who are interested in mentoring a young person, coming in to read with somebody, come just to have lunch, just to build a relationship with a kid that needs somebody. You never know who you might be that caring adult for. We've heard it how many times that it takes one caring adult, and you never know when you're the one. So just making connections when and wherever we can.
I appreciate that. I always hear that, what was it? Everybody needs a soft place to land. And so that person that's able to be that soft place to land. And just to share also, they say it's about 30%. 30% is the tipping point for classrooms that have support, for schools. If 30% of that classroom or that school has parental support, that tends to push and help for that school to also to succeed. So just want just to put that out there, that we all can be a part of that tipping point that could help our schools be even more successful. So thank you for being a soft place to land.
Yes. And I want to say one more thing. The other thing is, I think letting parents know what a wonderful resource the school can be. Because sometimes we can't help if we don't know. And sometimes families aren't aware of some of the services we have available. And so I think just sharing that, sharing, some of your experiences that you have shared, sharing that with the community and letting them know how supportive, we are and will continue to be. I think that could help too.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Dunn?
Just a couple of questions, comments. First of all, again, kudos for the work that's being done already with work-based learning, knowing that we have the new graduation requirements. It is lovely to know that Lawrence Township is not 1 or 2 steps ahead, but a mile ahead of many districts surrounding us. A couple of questions about that. You said that you are exploring a tracking platform. What type of tracking platform are we looking at?
So this would be a platform that would be accessible to employers. It would be accessible to our faculty as well, to track work-based learning hours. So we would track the partnership and the paperwork, the contract that goes along with it, the employee expectations, the employer expectations, but it would be unique to each partnership that we have. It will also track hours for students, as that's going to become really important for the various diploma types. And so we'll be able to use that to inform our graduation as well.
I feel, speaking of feeling a little ahead of the curve, I have an incoming freshman, and so I understand what the new requirements are. However, what are we doing to inform just the general public? Because I know working, especially with immigrant families, many times just navigating U.S. schools in general is very complicated and just unique to the U.S. as opposed to many other countries. So what type of outreach are we doing to support the families in understanding the requirements?
So we have a publication that we publish each year that, of course, had lots of updates this year because of the new diploma requirements. And that publication is given to each 8th grade student as part of our advisory curriculum in 8th grade, and really sets the stage for families to then be able to ask questions and advocate when they enter the high school. So we start in 8th grade. And then we have our high school counselors that also do that similar outreach, family nights, that sort of thing, to make sure that our community is engaged.
So students who aren't 8th graders in Lawrence Township still have that opportunity to get the information?
Yes, they do.
And when does that happen? Is that before they enroll? When does that occur?
So that would be Mr. Kuznick with their counselor.
Yeah, I would say in combination between the enrollment process, but I would say all throughout the year, whether it's open house, whether it's freshman orientation, all the different orientations that we have provide this information in addition to the communication that Mr. Notor was talking about.
And how is that provided specifically into a language that families understand, especially with our growing Haitian Creole population as well as our Spanish-speaking population?
So the publication is, because our Spanish-speaking population is so large, is given out in Spanish as well. For our Haitian Creole speakers, we do have a staff member designated to support families in Haitian Creole. So that would be more of a one-on-one type of conversation.
Is there any chance of perhaps having an event specifically for families that maybe have a language other than English or Spanish to support them? Because I think about my own personal daughter. She's not going to come tell me, oh, Mama, let me tell you all about the new graduation requirements and let me tell you what I'm doing. And you really, talking about that caring adult and that soft place to land, really we want that to be the family. So how do we ensure that the families have the information that they need to then be the advocate for their child?
Yes, absolutely. We have had events that are specific to our Spanish-speaking families, for sure.
Outstanding. In Haitian Creole, though, that one in particular is the
And that's the one-on-one conversation with our staff member.
I do have, sorry, Dr. Smith, were you going to say something? Tell you lean forward.
Ms. Lawrence.
So if we could switch gears a bit to the emergency teacher licensure. I wrote down 17.6% of our current teacher population has an emergency license. For members of the public, could you help clarify why one of those licenses would be acceptable? And then a follow-up question, you may not know the answer to this, Ms. Johnson, but my guess is you might, Dr. Smith, and if not, that's cool too. But how does that 17.6% compare to other districts as well? So,
And what I don't know, I'll research for you. I would say that in general, a teacher, when they're obtaining a license in their area, whether it's elementary, secondary, or the specific content area, they're licensed in that area. And so if they don't have it in that area, but they're able to show that they have a college degree and that they've met those requirements, they can apply for an emergency permit. But it's not meant to be that they're on that emergency permit forever. And so the goal is to get them into that initial teacher's practicum license. And so I need to do the research compared to other districts, but it's almost a moving target because it's changing each year.
Right.
People that we hire, but once we have them, our goal is to get them off of those emergency permits and into the pathway to obtaining the license that they need.
I think it's well answered. I think as the teacher shortage has happened throughout the country, all districts deal with this issue. This is not something specific to Lawrence Township and unusual. These individuals have degrees. Many times they're recruited because they are very talented individuals. And sometimes principals ask teachers who are in the wrong licensure area because they have talents to move over and then get the license in the other area. So it could be a reverse situation. Very difficult to discuss for each of our teachers because that's specifically at the building level with the principals and HR to hire. What Ms. Johnson's presenting to you is that our goal and your goal as a board, and it's been previous boards you're standing on the shoulders of, was to have licensed teachers in front of our kids. So ultimately, we want that goal to be zero. We want all those teachers to get licensed in the state of Indiana. Not picking on some of the other areas, charters and private, who can and they do sometimes hire non-licensed teachers. That's not our goal. Our ultimate goal is for every teacher to be licensed in the state of Indiana. And that is a bold goal. But we work with our staff members to get licensed. And we have recruited some great people who work within our organization to get licensed. They have degrees. And that's why you see some emergency permits sometime. Okay, very talented individuals. And I would say to all my principals and leaders of schools, they're trying to recruit talent. And we're also trying to grow talent. Go ahead. Ms. Dunn.
Just two things. I can echo exactly what you are talking about because whereas you may not have the exact data, it is an epidemic literally across the state of Indiana. One question I did have is about the data dashboard that we're piloting. I see that Skyward has a customizable data dashboard. Wondering if that's one that we're piloting, because I do know that the fewer platforms that we have for educators to have to navigate, the better. So kind of wondering if it's Skyward and then what else we're piloting.
Well, we began to engage with a company called Abre over a year ago, and right as we were bringing that one on board, Skyward said, "Hey, look what we've got." So it was just divine providence that we have this good opportunity to lay them both side by side to say which one meets our needs best. And is it one or the other, or do they complement each other in some way that we can make them both work?
Is that a decision that's made by a committee of educators as well as central office staff, or how is that done?
We did have a group of administrators and some of our leaders in the Lattice system, which is our MTSS.
Yes.
Take a look at what Abre could do. That took a long vetting process. And then again, like I said, Skyward came along and said, "We have this, would you like to try it?" So we're going to just lay them out side by side and let those key folks take a look and give us their input, and we can make it a good decision.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Just please don't make me remember more passwords. It's so much.
All right. Excellent. Thank you for that. Board, any other questions or comments regarding the strategic plan update? Just a point of clarification for the public, the strategic plan is a 3-year plan. Our board goals we set yearly, so we've been able to cover both. So excellent. At this time, we'll move on to 2.04, before and after care expansion update with Ms. LaPlante.
Good evening, Dr. Smith, Madam President, members of the board. Tonight, I'm going to share some opportunities in an effort to expand our programming for our families for aftercare. As we look at our current programming, just want to share a couple of points with you. We do serve over 1,000 students across our 4 early learning centers and our 11 elementary schools each week. Since the pandemic, we have really struggled to be able to meet the needs of all families. We've had a wait list every year. And for a variety of reasons, as you know, we're fully licensed and we're very proud of that, but that does present some additional hoops that we have to make sure that we follow. So for example, ratio is important. So we can't take every child even if we want to, because we are bound by our ratio, which is 20 students to 1 adult. In addition, when you are licensed, all caregivers must get background checks through the FSSSA. So they don't take anything that we do as a district. And so there are times when we work to have maybe cafeteria monitors or instructional assistants support and aftercare, but unless they're willing to go do the extra, they don't count as a qualified caregiver. And so that's been a challenge for us as well. And so as we look, what we want to do next year is pilot some different options for families. We want to expand services by looking at some different providers for our 3 smallest sites. And so Indian Creek, we would look at Champions Aftercare, which is a part of KinderCare. Oak Landon Elementary, we would look at Your School, which is AYS. And Winding Ridge Elementary, we would look to partner with the YMCA. So when you look at the expected benefits, really and truly, the reason we're doing this is it allows us to increase capacity. Those sites, as we've continued to talk to them and ask them about what it is that they do, they want to start at a bare minimum with 70 to 80 families, which is great because we've never been that big at those 3 schools. It also allows us to move some of our staff at those schools to our bigger sites, an Amy Beverland, a Mary Castle, a Forest Glen, where we in the past have had to stop taking students at about 140 due to staffing, and this would allow us to really increase them up to 200. That's the goal, is that we would start the year for 200 at those sites in particular. Enrollment would be able to start early. Right now, we start everything on July 7th in an effort to be very fair to families, but that does pose issues because we know that families right now, they're wanting to know if they have aftercare for their students. And then it does allow us some other opportunities for staff. Of course, they can work for us and we'll move them to one of our larger sites, or it allows them to work during the day in their building and then work for a different provider. And so there have been times where we have to watch our hours for our staff, and this way they can have as many hours as they want in a day and still be in the building where they already feel like a part of the family. So for the implementation plan, what we would like to do is start marketing and enrolling immediately. Then in August, launch the 3 different programs, and then begin taking stakeholder feedback in October and in March. We want to hear from our families. What do you think? What's working? What isn't working? Then at the end of the school year, next year, April of 2026, really look and evaluate how did this work? Was there one provider that families seem to like over the others? And then next May, I would come back and share those results with you. And if possible, maybe we would look at just one provider having all 3 sites. And if the families are really happy, we can keep it 3 different sites. So we want to do what really works for the families, what they feel is going to be a program that works for them. I'm happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Board, any questions or comments?
Do you think the board will have an opportunity to see some of that stakeholder engagement data at midway point?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Dunn.
First of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. I help support before and after care in my job, and one of the commitments that we made is that there would be no wait lists, because we know, again, when we think about attendance, that before and after care is absolutely critical. So kudos to you and your team. I think you answered the question. So the idea is that loving care would still exist at the majority of the sites, but we would have partners or perhaps a partner at these 3 sites. The question about the cost, is the cost comparable to what we are currently offering, and do they accept CCDF?
Thank you. Good questions. I should have mentioned those. They do all take CCDF, and the cost is very close. Their aftercare is almost spot on. They're $75 for aftercare. The difference comes with before care. We are $25 for before care, and if you do both, we only charge $5 for before care. They have separate rates for before care, and theirs are anywhere from 25, 35, or 45. So that's really where the difference is in before care, but all three of them take CCDF. That was a game changer. They had to.
Do we anticipate there to be any grievances with families of saying like, oh, I've got a kid at, Sunnyside versus Indian Creek?
I don't, only because we'll work with them.
Okay.
And all three of the partners were very supportive that they will look at discounts and they'll look at ways to work with families. It was nice to find out that we do offer the lowest prices for our families. I work hard to have it be that way, and so it was nice to have that confirmed.
So my assumption is too that they would also offer the break care, or
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And I just have to put a plug.
That's
I know that this is your shop and you are managing it, but AYS and Justin truly are an incredible organization, and so I'm very pleased to see that we are piloting with them. So,
Have we explored partnering with the foundation to provide some funding for those parents who maybe, a $20 increase each week could be a significant burden on their family? Have we explored options?
I haven't for this in particular, but we have used them in the past. We definitely have.
When there's need, Marta, we kind of work with it. But Stephanie and her team and our great friends in the community, we have some wonderful partners out there who work with us to try to help families. Just so the board will know, just as a point of clarification, you will not approve this as a whole. The individual contracts that we would have with these three organizations would have to come back to the board for approval at a later date. So we just wanted to share that these are the ideals, but if we enter into a partnership, we will have three separate agreements that the Board of Education would have to approve as a part of our contracts. So if we give the green light, board, it would be obviously vetted through me, your legal counsel, and then on to you for formal approval. So it is another opportunity for us. But we do want to give kudos to our program, which has done very well, but I want to point out something. Our parents want more. And that's what Ms. LaPlante is bringing today, the opportunity for us to provide more services for our families for before and after care.
Dr. Mahon.
Just a question for those of us who may be less familiar with Loving Care. So is Loving Care a program as well, like these other three, or is it more internal? How does that work?
Loving Care is Lawrence Township before and after care.
Okay.
Many years ago, there was a Loving Care that all districts kind of participated in, and so the term continues to stick, but we're fully run our own before and after care program.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Most districts have programs.
Yeah. I saw Loving Care for another district, so I was like, is that the same? Or okay. Thank you.
Sounds, well, wonderful. It's always great to be able to expand and meet the needs of the family, so thank you. Any other final questions or comments, board? Great offering. Thank you, Ms. LaPlante. Now we get to move on to the meat and the potatoes of the night. Neola Policy Updates 2.05, first reading, Dr. Harshbarger.
I'm glad you enjoy that as much as I do.
Oh, yeah.
Madam President, Dr. Smith, members of the board, tonight I present to you Neola Volume 37, Number 2 Revision Packet. This is comprised of 50 policies, 2 new policies, 4 technical corrections, recession of 5 policies, and 2 replacement policies. This revision packet is in response to recent legislation, as always, and subject to updates in Indiana Code. I now bring this for information to the board tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Harshbarger. Board, any questions or comments on our first reading? Yes, Ms. Dunn.
Okay, I have a question about just one of the policies. Policy 6116, which is the time and effort reporting. Are we to read that we now have to approve stipends prior to, because I'm a little confused by that one.
I think I'd probably hand that off to my friend.
The what?
Miles here.
And it's okay if we need to answer that later, because I did not have time to submit because I was looking at this honestly today before I came. But 6116 was one where it just seems like a lot of time and effort on behalf of the cabinet and staff, especially
Yes.
human resources, if we have to approve stipends, which I'm sure are something that are given to a lot of different folks for a lot of different reasons. So if we could follow up on that one.
We can do that. And as a point of clarification, time and effort would be Karen Niemeyer. Is that you on that
Also can
policy?
be title as well, I believe.
Title,
the title
and so
grants.
that would be Troy Noder. We'll come, you got it, did you guys catch it? Everybody's caught it? We'll get an answer for the board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
we
think,
got it.
because it's just a point of clarification, because I know time and effort reporting is usually with the title grants, but then it talks about stipends, and so
Neola usually guides us in the correct direction, but we do need to talk about the administrative side of it.
and the impact, I was thinking more of the impact on you all of like, what does
We
that
know.
actually mean?
Yep. We'll report back on that.
Thank you.
Okay?
It wasn't a trick question, I
No,
promise.
no, you're okay. Madam President, back to you.
All right.
Okay.
I do just want to call out, this is not easy work, Ms. Puckett. And so thank you all for the work that you do to make, and you can tell by the giggles on the dais of your fellow peers how grateful Mr. Roger Smith is that he doesn't have to read through all that policy all the time either. He's got plenty of policies, but we appreciate you. We appreciate the diligence that you take in looking over these.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Puckett and Dr. Harshbarger. And board, if we do have any questions as we're continuing to digest through it, I know they'll be happy to take our emails because it is a lot. Just so the public knows, this packet alone was over 10% of all of our board policies. Yes, a lot of trees. So I
Carry it with me.
Yes, a lot of trees. So I think that this was the largest packet that I have seen in my time on the board. So thank you for doing the heavy lifting.
That's good.
Yeah.
Informational.
If there are no other questions or comments regarding the policy, which we will have a second reading again at our monthly meeting, we'll move on to our action items. All right, we will go to 3.01. Approval of request for resolution authorization naming of Belzer Middle School auditorium.
Madam President, Dr. Smith, Madam President, Dr. Smith, members of the board. As a reminder, last board meeting, I brought you a first reading of this board resolution, and tonight I bring it to you for a second reading. As a reminder, Mr. Ron Davies served as Dean of Students, Assistant Principal, and Principal of Belzer Middle School for 20 years. Additionally, he served as the inaugural Principal at Lawrence Advanced Academy. Mr. Davey has positively influenced the lives of thousands of students and staff across the MSD of Lawrence Township and beyond. Through his unwavering dedication, he has brought recognition to the district and exemplifies steadfast loyalty to the community. His distinguished service has made a lasting impact in education, contributing meaningfully to the pursuit of knowledge, culture enrichment, and academic excellence. The MSD of Lawrence Township Board of Education honors and recognizes Mr. Ron Davey for a career dedicated to the service of the MSD of Lawrence Township and the community at large. Unfortunately, it looks like Mr. Davey was not able to be with us this evening, but we will make sure to include him in the planned fall dedication at the middle school renovation.
Yes.
So at this time, I recommend the board approve the request for resolution authorizing naming of Belzer Middle School auditorium as submitted.
Oh my gosh, so moved. Oh, please let me have that one.
Let her have that
Let me
one.
have that.
All right. I'll make-
Yes.
Yes, who would like to make a motion?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Puckett made the motion. Ms. Dunn properly seconded. Boards, any questions or comments before we move to the vote? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Okay, that has been properly approved for naming the Belzer Middle School auditorium after Mr. Ron Davey. Dr. Smith, would you like to explain what we have out front?
And we will, as we always do, we do present the individual not only with the name, but we also give them a copy of the resolution signed by the Board of Education as a keepsake. And so we'll make sure that Mr. Davey, we connect with him. He is retired and does work for us sometime with Miss Bush, but he is definitely retired. And I know Mr. Davey very well, goes back to my days as a principal a long time ago, working very closely with Ron Davey as a partner, a highly respected educator in this county and in state. So we can't wait to honor him in October. We will do that as a part of the dedication, and so we're excited about it. So we'll make sure Mr. Davey receives his resolution. On to the next one, Madam President.
All right, Mr. Kuznick, 3.02, approval of request for the authorization naming of Lawrence North High School Community Room.
Madam President, Dr. Smith, members of the board, Dr. Gagline is with us this evening. And I am, as a reminder, last board meeting, I brought to you a board resolution authorizing the naming of Lawrence North High School Community Room. And as a reminder, Dr. Stephen L. Gagline served as teacher at Lawrence Central High School and Dean of Students, Assistant Athletic Director, Assistant Principal, and Principal at Lawrence North High School. Dr. Gagline then served as the Executive Director of Secondary Education, Assistant Superintendent, Assistant Director of Systems Integration, and Chief Technology Officer for the MSD of Lawrence Township. Dr. Gagline was integral in the creation of the Freshman Center at Lawrence North High School. Dr. Gagline has impacted the lives of thousands of students and staff throughout the MSD of Lawrence Township community and beyond, and his efforts have brought acclaim to Lawrence North High School and the MSD of Lawrence Township. Over the course of 37 years, Dr. Gagline demonstrated unquestionable loyalty to Lawrence North High School and the MSD of Lawrence Township community. The MSD of Lawrence Township Board of Education honors and recognizes Dr. Stephen L. Gagline for a career dedicated to the service of the MSD of Lawrence Township and the community at large. It is my honor to again recommend the board approve the request for resolution authorizing naming of Lawrence North High School Community Room as submitted.
Board, I'll entertain a motion.
So move. Oh, nope. You got that one. I was getting hot.
Wildcat wants to do that.
Yes,
Yes.
look at me.
All right, properly moved, Dr. Mulholland, and seconded, Ms. Puckett?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions or discussion? We'll move on to a vote then. All in favor of the naming of the Lawrence North High School Community Room, in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's properly moved and seconded and approved. Congratulations, Dr. Gagline, and board, we will come down front now for a presentation. All right, the celebrations are continuing. We are moving on to 3.03, approval of the personnel report. Ms. Carla Johnson.
Madam President, Dr. Smith, and members of the board, approval is sought for the personnel report.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved, Ms. Lawrence, seconded, Ms. Puckett. Any questions or comments on the personnel report? All right, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, and yes, Ms. Carla Johnson has some more special presentations to share.
Indeed, we do. What a night of celebration. This evening, we would like to congratulate Mr. Corey McGarrell for being named the principal of Fall Creek Valley Middle School. If he could come forward. Effective July 1st, Mr. McGarrell brings 23 years of educational experience to this new role, having served as an assistant principal at Lawrence Central High School since 2018. It's an honor to be selected to lead the students, staff, parents, and community of Fall Creek Valley Middle School, says Mr. McGarrell. I look forward to working with the staff and the students and the families to foster a rigorous student-centered learning environment where every student can achieve academic excellence and grow as a confident learner. According to Superintendent Dr. Sean Smith, Mr. McGarrell brings a strong instructional background, a clear vision for student achievement, and a deep commitment to creating a positive and engaging school culture. Look forward to the future of Fall Creek Valley Middle School under his leadership. Mr. McGarrell began his teaching career in 2002 in Lebanon schools and later in Lawrence North High School, where he taught social studies in grades 9 through 12 and served as an assistant football coach. After a brief sabbatical, he returned to Lawrence Township. He came on home. He knew what to do.
We took care of that.
In
took care of that.
2018 as an
Truly.
assistant principal at Lawrence Central High School. Mr. McGarrell earned a BS in secondary education and social studies from Indiana University in 2002. He went on to complete his leadership development program in special education at Purdue University prior to earning his master's degree in educational leadership at the University of Indianapolis in 2015. He and his wife, Amanda, who works in Amy Beverly Elementary, have 2 children in Lawrence Township schools. Marissa, she's 13, and Tucker, who's 11. You introduce your family. Let's all congratulate Mr. McGarrell.
Come on down, Mr. McGarrell. Come on down, shake everyone's hands, Mr. McGarrell. Thank you.
I also want to thank both Marissa and Tucker for enduring a social studies, and a civics class during their summer break. So thanks for your patience, guys.
Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Corey. Yep. Yep.
And he even has a green tie on now.
He made that switch fast, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you have with you tonight your family.
Yeah, thank you again. Joining me tonight is my wife, Mandy, my daughter, Marissa, who will be joining, I will be joining her now at Fall Creek Valley, and then my son, Tucker, who is going to be in 5th grade at Crestview.
Welcome.
He's a character, boy. That's my
Next,
guy.
we have Mrs. Dainez, if she could come forward. This evening, the school board of Lawrence Township approved the appointment of Mrs. Adiza Dainez to the position of Director of Dual Language. Ms. Dainez will transition to this new position on July 1st from Sunnyside Elementary, where she has served as the building principal since 2021. She has previous experience as an assistant principal, English as a new language teacher, and a kindergarten teacher in the district. According to Superintendent Dr. Smith, Mrs. Dainez's experience and intrinsic knowledge of language acquisition make her the ideal candidate to lead the district's continually growing and high-demand dual language program. I'm confident both her leadership and her unwavering commitment to the families and students of our district. A native of Puerto Rico, Mrs. Dainez attended Ball State University, where she earned her bachelor's degree in elementary education with a concentration in English as a new language and a Spanish minor. She holds a master's degree in educational leadership from IUPUI Urban Principal Program. Regarding her new position, Ms. Dainez shares, I look forward to expanding my role, supporting bilingual education in Lawrence Township, and empowering all dual language learners to thrive academically, socially, and linguistically. Mrs. Dainez, her husband, are district residents and parents, and they have 3 children, Maya, Michael, and Maverick, in Lawrence Township Schools as well. Congratulations.
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 ENL student.
And next we have Mr. Brett Krauser, who was approved this evening as our new Director of Secondary Education. Mr. Krauser will transition to this new role effective July 1st, 2025, from the principal at Lawrence North High School, a role he has held since 2011. He has additional previous experience as an associate principal, assistant principal, teacher, and coach at Lawrence North, having spent all but 1 year of his professional career in Lawrence Township. Mr. Krauser earned his Bachelor of Arts in History with a minor in Psychology at Wabash College in 1995. He completed his master's degree at Butler University in the Experiential Program for Preparing School Principals in 2004. Regarding his new position, Krauser shares, serving as the principal at Lawrence North has been one of the most rewarding chapters of my career. I'm incredibly proud of what we have accomplished together. As I transition into this new role, I'm excited to continue supporting our schools, staff, students on a broader level, ensuring every learner has the opportunity to thrive at the secondary level in Lawrence Township. Dr. Smith shares that in his new role, Mr. Krauser will bring tremendous insight and experience to our district leadership team as we prepare to implement new graduation requirements and enhance workforce development opportunities for future graduates. His deep understanding of high school programming and dedication to student leadership will benefit students and families across the district. Congratulations. Go Wildcats. Well, go Lawrence Township. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Principal. Congratulations. Congratulations. Mm-hmm.
He's already got his district blue tie on.
Yes.
But there's some red in it, though. Yeah.
Red, who'd you bring? Go ahead, Carl.
And he has with us this evening.
Obviously, my wife, Angie, who's been with us all 29 years here in Lawrence, and my son, Sam.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Right.
All right. Wonderful. Congratulations. All right. What a great ending to our meeting. At this time, we'll move on to our final administrator and board comments. Board, does anyone have any final comments they'd like to share? Ms. Dunn.
I would just like to take a moment. Again, I feel like I am full of gratitude for the district, but when great things are happening, it's important to celebrate. And so I just want to say thank you to all of those that worked so diligently on the Lilly Phase 2 grant. That is such an incredible, incredible gift from Lilly. And I know that we are working, or we're soon to be working on Phase 3. So I think just huge kudos to this amazing, amazing administration for their leadership there. And I also want to say Happy Pride Month.
Ms. Lawrence, thank you.
I also echo Happy Pride, but also, Dr. Smith, we have another state championship team.
Dr. Desmond, to the microphone. Make the big announcement. We had incredible spring sports, but Mr. Krauser brought another banner to us.
You don't need that.
How's that? Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, congratulations to Lawrence North Wildcats. You know, there's a lot of, about 400 high schools in Indiana, and very few of them ever in the history of their school win a state championship, let alone do it Lawrence North this year and win 2 in the same year. It's pretty remarkable, and I think we take it for granted. We're here in Marion County. Lawrence Township has a strong athletic history of state championships. They are regular, but we really have to step back and look. It's pretty impressive to win 2 in a year. Their boys won it Friday night in boys track and field. That's the 4th state title, I think, in boys, or 5th state title in boys track. They won 3 in a row in the early 2000s. That's number 5. I think they won in 89. Is that right, Mr. Chris? Yeah, 89. They had 47 points, outlasted Bloomington North's 45 points. So here's your interesting backstory. 4 kids for Lawrence North competed, and they all did really well. All 4 of those boys, 3 of them seniors, were on the football team. If you might remember, they had the best team in the state, undefeated, running the table. Maybe a very questionable horse color call, those final waning moments of regional I'm still upset about. And they didn't achieve that goal. But they kept pushing and even graduated, but on their way out, brought a state title to the school. So pretty neat story. Very happy for Coach Mallory, who coaches both the football and track teams, and excited for the Wildcats to win another state championship.
Dr. Nesbitt, there was also a pole vault champion as well, correct?
That's right. We had a girl that Jane Paddock, they had good strategery and outlasted the competition and won the pole vault championship. And LN has a long history of good pole vaulters. The longtime track coach there, who the track is now named after, Bob Potter, was a pole vault specialist and still helps out the track teams with their pole vaulters. And it was neat to see him. He worked the pole vault and got a picture with her. And so that was a pretty neat story.
She had a record, didn't she? Was it a?
She did.
I think in
state
school, yeah, it's a school
record.
record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Excellent. Any other comments? Okay. Awesome. All right, Ms. Puckett.
One, I should have added it during policy, but I did receive a few questions concerning this from the public, and it's concerning policy 166.1, the consent agenda. We do not go into detail on the consent agenda because of personnel matters and also because of legalities. If you do have questions concerning that, you can go to your building principal and they can share possibly more, but just wanted to give a overview on that policy and why we do not go into details concerning the consent agenda.
Very good. Thank you for that. And Dr. Mulholland.
I just want to quickly say, after such a wonderful week of the commencement celebrations for Lawrence North and Lawrence Central, just to come here today and hear all of the excellent work and improvements around reading, the math and language proficiency, and then to hear about the middle school students enrolled in the high school credit courses. I'm just, as someone who has both a graduate from high school, but now little ones, thinking about how we're just, all the work we're doing to support students along the way. So thank you so much.
Very good. And congratulations to the newly graduated class of 2025. Thank you to the team, to the teachers, all the staff, everyone involved in putting together 2 great nights. I personally do have a graduate, so I was thinking of this class as a whole from both high schools, what they've been through the last 6 years. They were the class who was home the most during the pandemic in middle school and had such a big adjustment when they got to 9th grade. Then when they come into 9th grade, they're under construction for the majority of their high school career. I mean, truly. But at the same time, I would say this will serve them well in the future. They will have resilience, that they've already endured. And I just wanted to point that out, that they'll do great things. I mean, all of our kids will, but yes. So thank you, everyone. And I will turn this over to Dr. Smith.
Board, thank you for your hard work. Just a reminder, we have 2 gentlemen that will have retirement celebrations over the next 2 weeks. So remember, you have a place to join us for that. And Madam President, I don't have anything else. We have one more meeting for the month.
Correct. I will announce that. We will have our monthly board meeting. We will first start at 6:30 in the PD room for our student celebrations and staff celebrations.
And the champs are going to be here. Is that correct, team? We're bringing the champs here. We will recognize our spring sports winner, including our state championship.
Excellent. And that, again, that will be on June 23rd here. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Properly moved, Ms. Puckett, seconded, Ms. Dunn. We are out. Thank you.